So, when you hear the word zombie, what comes to mind? Is it that classic shambling figure, maybe?
Yeah, kind of dragging a leg, vacant stare.
Yeah.
Just keeps coming.
Exactly. They're scary because they just don't stop. But, are they all like that? Is there more going on with the anatomy of a zombie?
Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We've got this great source material. It's called Anatomy of the Undead, Zombies and Their Forms.
Okay.
And it's basically our map for understanding, the variety you can find.
Right. So our mission here is to unpack what the source tells us, go beyond just the shambler image.
Right.
We want to pull out the key details, maybe some surprising facts about the different kinds of zombies it talks about.
Yeah.
We'll definitely hit the standard one, but we're also going to look at some much more monstrous types, including one that's, well, pretty unexpected.
Oh, yeah.
We'll start with the basic humanoid zombie, then the big ogre zombie, and then tackle this, beholder zombie.
Okay, sounds good. So let's lay the groundwork first. How does the source describe zombies generally?
Yeah, what's the core concept?
Fundamentally, they're described as unthinking, reanimated corpses. And the text really emphasizes how gruesome they are, decaying, showing the wounds that killed them.
Ugh, yeah, not a pretty picture. And they don't just get up on their own, right?
No, exactly. They're brought back by supernatural forces, usually something bad, like evil necromancers or maybe fiendish spirits.
Gotcha.
And the source highlights these core traits, no matter the type. Relentless, merciless, and incredibly resilient.
Resilient? How?
It says their dead flesh can carry on even after suffering wounds that would, absolutely kill a living creature.
Okay, so tough. And they don't give up. But it also mentions limitations, right? They're not smart.
Not at all. They can follow simple, direct orders from whoever animated them, but they're running purely on primal drives. There's zero independent thought happening. Crucially, yes, they do their tasks through just tireless effort or just battering whatever's in their way, but apparently they're easily stymied, like stopped cold by unexpected stuff, or even simple barriers they weren't told how to deal with.
So no problem-solving skills whatsoever.
None. And while we usually picture, people coming back.
Yeah, humanoid ones.
Right. The source notes that while that's typical, other creatures can become these monstrous zombies.
And that's where the variations really come in.
Exactly. These monstrous types might keep some of the strength or abilities they had in life, but they use them. Well, the source says, haphazardly at best, still mindless servants.
Okay. So their main purpose then, according to this, what are they used for?
Generally, they're guardians, servants, maybe soldiers for evil magic users. And in rare cases, if there's widespread reanimation, you can get those terrifying hordes.
Right, the zombie apocalypse scenario.
Pretty much. So that's the general picture. Now let's unpack the specifics.
Okay, let's start with the standard issue, the most common one. The humanoid zombie.
This is your baseline. The source gives some stats to paint a picture. Low armor class, AC 8, basically easy to hit.
Okay.
Around 15 hit points, so not a huge amount of health.
Right.
And speed 20 feet, so yeah, pretty slow.
And the mental stats really drive home the unthinking part.
Oh, absolutely. Intelligence 3, wisdom 6, charisma 5. Very, very low. Basically running on fumes mentally.
Yeah, definitely no complex plans there. But they do have some resistances, being dead and all.
Right. Immune to poison, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And also immune to the exhaustion and poison conditions. They don't get tired. They don't get sick.
Okay. But you said they were resilient. There's something specific about that.
Ah, yes. This is probably their defining feature in this source. It's really interesting. The undead fortitude trait. This is the key to why they keep coming.
Okay, tell us about that. How does undead fortitude work?
All right, get this. If a zombie gets hit and the damage would drop it to 0 hit points, it doesn't necessarily go down. It gets to make a special check, a constitution saving throw. Think of it like rolling dice to see if it can tough it out. The difficulty, the DC, is 5 plus the amount of damage that hit just did.
Ah, so the harder you hit it, the harder it is for it to stay up. Makes sense.
Exactly. And if it makes a save, instead of dropping to 0, it just drops to 1 hit point.
Yeah.
It just shrugs off the blow and keeps shambling. However,
There's always a catch.
Right. The source is very clear. This trait doesn't work if the damage was radiant. Think holy energy, pure light.
Okay.
Or if the hit was a critical hit, one of those really lucky extra damaging blows.
That is a huge detail. So divine power or a really solid hit bypasses it completely. Otherwise, you either need one massive blow to make that save really tough, or you just have to keep hitting it, knowing it might pop back up.
Precisely. It explains that relentless feel. And their attack is just Super basic.
Just a swing.
Yeah, slam attack, hitting with their body. Does about 5 points of bludgeoning damage on average, like a punch. The source uses 1d8 plus 1, roll an 8-sided die, add 1.
Okay, so this humanoid zombie is the perfect example of the general description. Tough, keeps coming, but very simple.
Exactly. The foundation.
All right, let's scale things up. The ogre zombie. Now that sounds like one of those monstrous forms.
Oh, definitely. The source positions these guys as like tireless heavy labor or undead war machines. Their big advantage over the little guys, sheer size and strength.
Right.
Which lets them, and I quote, break through barriers that repel smaller zombies.
Yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. A regular zombie might just bump into a reinforced door, but an ogre zombie.
He's going to try and smash right through it. And the stats reflect that power jump.
How much tougher are we talking?
Significantly, like 85 hit points, way more health. They're a bit faster too, speed 30 feet. And the physical stats are much higher. Strength 19, Constitution 18, big brute force.
But still dumb as a post.
Oh yeah. Mental stats are identical to the humanoid. In 3, with 6, chop 5. Absolutely no thinking going on there.
And they keep the same immunities. Poison, exhaustion.
Yep. Poison, exhaustion, poison condition immunity. And crucially,
Let me guess. Undead fortitude.
got it. That signature resilience against being dropped, still there. Same mechanic, con save DC 5 plus damage taken.
Okay, and I assume its slam hits harder.
Much harder. Average of 13 bludgeoning damage. The source has 2d8 plus 4, so 2 8-sided dice plus 4. Packs a wallop.
All right, so the takeaway here seems to be that monstrous zombies, at least this ogre example, mainly get their edge by keeping their physical power from life.
Pretty much.
It's not smarter, just bigger, stronger, better at breaking things, good against different problems like walls, but still just following orders mindlessly.
That nails it. It's about applying brute force where the smaller ones fail. Now prepare yourself.
Uh-oh.
Because this next one is a major curveball. Let's talk about the beholder zombie.
Wait, hey, a beholder zombie? You
Yeah.
mean like the big floating meatball with the giant eye and the eye stalks?
It's the very same.
How does that even become a zombie? And what does it do? Isn't its whole thing magic?
That's why this one is so wild and so different from the others. The source says they're animated from beholder corpses, often by rivals, maybe powerful necromancers wanting to use those potent remains.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. Unlike other monstrous zombies that might use old abilities kind of randomly, these hovering corpses apparently keep some controlled use of their magical eye stalks.
Seriously, so it's not just a floating dead thing, it still uses its eye rays?
It does, although still mindlessly, under its master's command. It flies, well, hovers, at 20 feet. Its defenses are better too, AC 15. And it's got a good chunk of health, 93 hit points.
Wow.
And it adds prone immunity to its list, can't be knocked down while hovering. Makes sense.
And the mental stats are still low.
Still very low.
Yeah.
3 chell 5. The wisdom is listed as 8, slightly higher than the others, which maybe relates to handling the eye rays, but still clearly not thinking.
Okay. And does it also have undead fortitude?
It does. That core zombie resilience, it's in there too.
Man, that trait is really the signature move. All right, let's get to its actions. Multi-attack and eye raise twice. That sounds bad for us.
It is definitely concerning. It can shoot 2 different eye rays at potentially 2 different targets on its turn, and it has a bite attack.
From its big central mouth?
Yep. And it's nasty. Average 16 piercing damage, 46 plus 2. But yeah, the eye rays are the real game changer here.
Okay, let's break them down. The source lists 4 specific rays it can use.
4 types, chosen randomly, seems like. First is the paralyzing ray. Target has to make a DC 14 Constitution save.
Okay, resist physical effects.
Right. Fail that, and you're paralyzed. Yeah. Completely frozen, can't do anything. You get another chance to save the end of each of your turns, otherwise it lasts a minute.
Just locks you down? Ouch! What's ray number 2?
The fear ray. This one targets the mind. DC 14 wisdom save.
Resisting mental stuff.
Exactly. Fail. And you take about 13 psychic damage, 3d8, and you become frightened until the end of your next turn. You're panicked, basically.
Okay, mental attacks too. Third, the enervation ray. Sounds bad.
It is. Hits your life force. Another DC 14 con save. Fail. And you take necrotic damage, about 10.3d6. Decays living tissue. And you get the poison condition until the end of your next turn.
Poison, so you're impaired.
Right. But here's the really nasty bit. While you're poisoned by this ray, you cannot regain hit points.
Whoa. No healing. That's brutal in a fight. Okay, what's the last one? The big one.
The disintegration ray. Probably the most famous beholder power. And yes, still incredibly dangerous even from the zombie version. This one's a DC 14 dexterity save, Try to dodge it.
Makes sense.
Fail, and you take a huge hit of force damage raw magic. About 27 points average, 5d10. Even if you succeed on the save, you still take half damage.
Yikes.
But the truly terrifying part, if this damage drops a creature to 0 hit points, they don't just die, they're instantly disintegrated. Poof, pile of fine dust.
Oh my god.
And they can do the same to non-magical objects or even things made of magical force.
Yeah. That is an insane power set for something that's supposed to be unthinking. It's not just hitting you, it's using complex magic. This makes that quote you mentioned earlier from the account of the Night of the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
The dead come from Mered to Tarascon, an army of the Walking Dead. It really hits different now. The dead aren't just shamblers. They can be these things. Flying death machines shooting disintegration rays.
Exactly. That quote captures the terror perfectly. And the real insight here, what's so fascinating, is how this Beholder zombie shows that undeath, in this source anyway, can keep these powerful, intricate magical abilities.
It totally changes the threat level.
Fundamentally,
Yeah.
it makes you rethink what undead can even mean, especially if the creature was magical or powerful to begin with. Maybe the reanimation magic doesn't just fix the body, but traps and uses the inherent magical patterns too, just mindlessly.
So, okay. We've gone from the slow, tough humanoid to the big, smashing ogre, and now this flying, magic-blasting beholder zombie. What are the common threads holding them together, and what are the key differences we've seen?
Well, the constants seem to be. They're unthinking, they serve a master, they're neutral evil according to the source, and they all have that undead fortitude trait, that resilience is key.
Right.
The big variations are all about how their original form dictates their power in undeath.
Sure.
Is it physical strength like the ogre, or inherent magic like the beholder, but always used without conscious thought?
So, connecting this to the bigger picture, why does understanding these different types matter? What's the so what?
I think it shows that even a classic monster like the zombie isn't just one thing. This source gives it layers. The original creature matters.
Yeah.
It means facing one kind of zombie might need a totally different strategy than facing another. It adds depth to the whole idea of reanimation. It's not just decay, it's twisting what was already there.
Right. So this deep dive really gives you a much more nuanced picture of zombies than just that basic image we started with. You got to know what kind of undead you're dealing with.
Definitely makes you think twice about what might climb out of the grave next time, right?
For sure. We've definitely gone from the familiar shambler to something.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly bizarre and powerful with that beholder.
It really stretches the definition of walking dead, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe hovering dead.
Well.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to chew on, drawing straight from what we've discussed from the source. How can creatures defined by being totally unthinking, just running on basic drives, how can they still wield abilities as complex and devastating as those beholder eye rays, paralyzing, terrifying, draining life, even disintegrating things? What does that mixed total mindlessness combined with intricate magic tell us about the magic of reanimation itself in this context? Or maybe even about power when it's completely separated from consciousness or any kind of intention?
It's a really interesting paradox the source leaves us with, yeah. It makes you wonder where the power actually is once the mind is gone.
Keep exploring these ideas. Keep looking for those hidden layers, even in things you think you know inside out. There's always more to find.